Good evening and welcome to the May edition of the McKinney Amateur Radio Club's monthly meeting. Be sure to check in via Ham Club Online. Tonight's check-in code is AT. And hopefully everyone got a blue door prize ticket as you came in. And if not, check with Jerry. We also have 50/50 available at the break. Again, our monthly meeting check-in code is AT. It's only for attendance purposes. And please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, members and guests. Tonight, congratulations for new licensees, new call sign holders, and license upgrades. We have two new member applications. Daniel Elliott from Melissa, Texas. Are you here? No. And Joe Finnegan. Nope. Okay, so I need a motion to approve for membership. Ron, KI, no. WW5 CBI? WW2 CBI. Whiskey 2 CBI. And the second, Larry. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And speaking of Ron, repeater update, sir?
Okay, so repeater report. Repeaters seem to be working fine. They made it through the rain. Now they're getting hot. So that's great. Things are drying out. And let's see, I brought a show and tell. This is the type of coax like you would, hook your base station up. This is something similar to what we might use to connect to the duplexer. A little jumper cable, factory made. That's a door prize. But this is what we're going to pull. This is what we're going to pull up the inside of the tower. We'll have two of these. Here, I'll pass it around. Don't hit anybody with it.
Don't bend it.
Yeah, by the way, the minimum bend radius to not lose the electrical characteristics is 15 inches radius. Good luck. I couldn't get anything on it. But in any case, there'll be two runs supported. They'll be about 128 pounds each. That's just the vertical section. So it'll be about 350, 375 feet. And so for the UHF, I did a little studying, and we need to have the absolute minimum loss on the UHF, since we're going to be running some digital on it, and also on the microwave connections. We need to have absolute minimum loss, no more than 1 dB reflections. So that's a bit of a challenge, and that's why the factory for the coax makes their own connectors and matches them. So because this is carrier grade, and so the carriers are trying to solve the same problem of modulation, distortion, and reflections. And that way we'll get our best quality signal. We'll get everything that duplexer can give will go out the antenna. And conversely, whatever comes in, we'll get it. So that'll be great. That'll be a little different than what's over here at 75-380, where we got some corrosion at the end of the coax. Pretty soon we're going to have to fix that. And so for Fairview, I've responded to some questions to volunteers on the drawings, and there's a drawing set. I think Lewis may have brought in some examples, and there would be maybe an update from our liaison. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, I was looking for you. You're too close. Yeah, you want to give a little update? I'm done with my off-the-cuff remarks.
I don't have any show and tell stuff, but we're making great progress. Thanks to Luis and his efforts, we have taken the drawings that Ron did by hand. We've put them into a really nice digital CAD format, so they look real professional. They look awesome. This is kind of what they look like. And the good news is the town's not going to require a whole lot from us. So we wanted to make it look professional and give them, just what they needed, not go over the top like a commercial installation. We've got, I think, 5 antennas that were showing up on the top of the tower ring. There'll be 2 cameras that'll be tied in there as well, so eventually we'll have that capability. Yesterday, I talked to the assistant to the town manager, and he gave me good news that I'd sent that information to him about 2-3 weeks ago, and the big concern was that Rise Communications, it's a wireless internet carrier company, they had a contract with the town, and it looked like to us at the first blush that almost the entire antenna ring was occupied by them, either now or in future installations. And he confirmed Monday that he thought all of our placements, approximate placements, would be fine. There would be no problem with them. So that was a big concern. So that's good news. There were 3 other questions we had out to the town engineer and hoped to get on a call with him today, but he wasn't available. But the assistant to the town manager said that they are personally involved with the town engineer. One of the questions on the drawings that they gave us said a proposed 16-inch water line was going to be real close to where we were going to be, and obviously we want to make sure we were going to go dig into that. So he said it's installed, shouldn't be a problem for us, so we know where that is. And there are 2 other items on their drawing that were suspect. The town engineer didn't recall if they were in place, but the assistant town manager said he would personally go out there and view those in the next 2 days. So wrap all that up, what that means is that if all that looks okay and the drawings, will bring it to the board of directors at their next meeting this Saturday? Is it? It's coming Saturday? Board meeting? And we'll bring that, let you all take a look at it, make sure it's okay. And if it is, then I'll put together a kind of a finalized package to go to the town with the drawings and with a timeline and with the equipment list that Ron's already put together. So we're looking really, really good on this. So if it goes to them, I hope by the end of this month, that should be a quick turnaround from them, because they're just going to kind of look at it and go, yep, looks fine to us. And then we can start moving into the real nitty-gritty and buying equipment and doing the timelines and all that stuff. So I think that's it. Any questions, comments? So really, really good cooperation from the town. It's been really easy. Hardest problem is just getting a hold of the people, because everybody's busy. But really appreciate the work from those of you in the room that have helped. And Luis, thanks again for the drawings. They look awesome, man. Appreciate it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Dick. And we are up to Field Day. Field Day is June 28th and 29th. Mike?
Thank you, Tim.
You got more than one slide up there?
Oh, I've always got more than one slide.
Well then, there you go.
All right, I noticed we got some visitors this meeting, and probably don't know what Field Day is. Field Day is the annual event for ham radio where we get out of the confines of a restaurant or a breakfast place. We get out into the field, we set up, and we operate. There's our club president operating last year. This year, as we have in the last few years, we're going to Irwin Park. We'll start setting up about 7 o'clock Saturday morning, June 28th, and an operation starts about 1 o'clock, goes through all night long into Saturday or Sunday morning until we get 2 wore out, or about 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. It is, and I'll have more about Field Day next meeting, but this year, we're going to have the new club go kits that Lance and the committee and Jerry and all have worked so hard on. So we're going to have new radios to play with. We're looking at some new things, some new goals. One that's been bandied about pretty heavily is, should we go to 4A? or we have 3 radios for CW or phone, 10 meter, 15 meter, 20 meter, and then a digital station. What do y'all think about that? I like that idea. You like that idea? Think it's doable? Now, our antenna raiser, Dave, has got some questions there, but
Well, in the past, we've had a difficult time staffing all of the stations at 3A. I'm just curious as to whether or not
yeah.
going to 4A is just gonna make that situation
Yeah. At 3 a.m., we may not be able to, we'll only have the 40 meter antenna at night, yeah. 20 meters stays open pretty much most of the night, field day in years past. Of course, 15 and 10 will be dead. So we may not be 4A at that time, but we'll have the 4 stations capable of operating, just not able to. Yeah. Yeah, I've got to get a volunteer for that. So that's a 5th station, correct?
5th station, and then there's the free transmitter on
UHF? Yeah.
UHF if we want to do that. We can put a lot of transmitters
We can.
in the air, but there's logistics and staffing to be dealt with.
Exactly. And staffing's a big part. We need the volunteers. We need the volunteers to help set up and tear down and to operate. One of the things I'm tweaking the schedule a little bit this year on operations and logging. I think it'll make it a little better for getting people more interested and able to schedule up. And we'll talk about that at the next meeting. I'm gonna see if that works a little bit better on our time slots for that. So hopefully we'll get that done for the next meeting. We're looking at the 100% battery solar power. It's going to take a little help from y'all. A lot of people have already volunteered their solar generators for the 110 power for laptops, everything but the radios, basically. And then if we have an issue with that, a backup generator, maybe to re-top off one of the solar generators. Those things usually take about an hour to top off to keep that going. But for the radios, we'll need some good LiPo batteries. I know several of y'all have some 100 amp hour batteries, which would be great. If they're already rigged up with power poles, fit right in, we'll be able to use them. Lance keeps telling me to get over here. And so that would help out with some solar panels. So I think it's doable. If all else fails, we'll have a generator and we go back to that and get that on. Do we get bonus points for that? No, but I think it'd just be a cool thing to do.
I think we should get 100 bonus points for natural power.
I've got the rules back there, and it's not that much. Yeah, it's not 100 points. Yeah, I'll pull them out. And look, yeah. It's you do get some bonus points for a number of natural power contacts, but it's not that many points. It's kind of a do it to see if we can do it this year, because we're amateurs, we're experimenters. So see if we can get some APRIS going on up there. Maybe some folks can track us down by APRIS. Want to do a WinLink message to Steve Lott, our section coordinator, and get that W1AW bulletin for some bonus points. And then let's exceed last year's score. If we can do it, it's not a contest, I know. But it's a contest for us. We'll try to do better. Now, the bands last year were great. The bands right now, anybody been out lately on the bands? Yeah. So we got a month. Now, we turned the heat up a little bit to get the the field day feeling going on. So maybe that'll clear the bands up a little bit. The hotter it is outside, the better the bands are, I hope. I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to do our field day simulation exercise on June 7th. I know it's a busy weekend. There's most weekends between now and then are, but we're going to head up to Irwin Park after breakfast, so 8:30, 9-ish. Pick a spot. Hopefully one of the pavilions will be open. If not, we'll pick a spot with some shade. And we'll do some simulating. We'll talk about the rules. Bring a HT capable of operating on our simplex frequency, and we'll go over the rules. We'll do a simulated exercise, have a little fun. Maybe when we could have one of the go kits there and see what's going on in the air. If somebody wants to chase some poter or something like that, that'd be a lot of fun. So June 7th at Irwin Park after breakfast, after the IHOP breakfast. All right. Also, we'll practice logging with the N3 JFP logging software. which is really simple. It's a little different than some of the other software programs you may be using at home, but it's really simple to use, especially for field day. There's 3 places you got to fill in, a couple of things you got to watch out for to make sure you're in the right mode and the right band and things like that. But it's really, really simple to use once you get the hang of it. The best thing about that software is after field day is over, it makes it real easy for me to tally up everything and load it up to the ARRL website. So that's where it shines, even though it's an older looking software. The main thing tonight, as promised, we're going to pick a design for our t-shirts, our Mark Field Day t-shirts. First year we've done that. And I've got 10 designs have been submitted by several members. So we had some pretty good participation here. I'm not going to call out who they are yet because I don't want to sway the vote one way or another. But there's some great designs. So what I thought I'd do is go through the designs, just show them to you, let you look at them, and then we'll go back through them and do an up or down. And after we do an up or down, we'll do a vote to see which one you like the best. Now, being that there's 10 designs, actually there's 11. I threw the ARRL. If you don't like any of them, we can order t-shirts from ARRL. They kind of look like this, only they're gray. And, but anyway, if you don't like any of the designs, we can always fall back on that. So let's kind of look at them, then we'll go back and do a thumbs up, thumbs down, and then we'll do a final vote on the t-shirts. Then I'll let you know who designed the winner. All right, number 1, ARRL Field Day 2025, camping out. Looks nice and breezy right there. That looks good, doesn't it? ARRL Field Day, McKinney Amateur. That guy does look familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, he looks really familiar. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. There he is again. It's Andy again, but it's cooler out, so he's got his jacket on. Yeah. Now somebody submitted several, but yeah. So. There we go. But I don't know. My eyes are wide open. Either the smoke just came out or you got a little RF burn. I don't know. All right, Radio Connects, ARRL Field Day. Got some cans there. Replace the can with the club. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a test right there. Yeah. Little variation of the previous one. McKinney Amateur Radio Club. Burning up in the sun, the antenna there. How did you know? I don't want to sway the vote. From last year? Yeah. McKinney Amateur Radio Club 2025. And that looks like several of us down there on the corner, on the bottom. Especially the end of exactly, yeah. Yeah, just air conditioning. And then there's the ARRL shirt. So, yeah. All right, let's go back. This is going to be the hard part. Whoops. Let's just do up or down. Up. Up, okay. Number 1, somebody take notes for me. Number 1 up. I got it. Okay. That's number 1, right? Yes, sir. Well, we could pick colors for the shirt. We'd have to consult with the t-shirt guy. So I don't think the shirt would need to be black. That would, yeah. Yeah, in case you're cold at night. So.
Will these be screen printed or will these be?
Dave said our printer has they're not embroidered. It's a direct transfer. Is that what they call it? Yeah. So yeah, not embroidered. I don't think we could afford them if we embroidered them. So. All right, number 2. Up or down? No bueno? Okay. Sorry, Andy. So number 1 up, number 2 down. Number 3, up or down? No bueno? Down, okay. Number 4. We like number 4. Yeah, yeah. There you go. It's Bluetooth. It's Bluetooth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's about 50-50. We'll say up on that one then, so. Radio connects, up or down? Okay. Down? Radio connects with the club's logo? Down? Down. Radio connects with the CW? Yeah, that's about 50-50. We'll say up on that one. So number 7. Radio connects with the cans and the logo. Okay. So down, okay. Sunshine? Up? Texas? So I see more ups than downs.
My concern on this is that it's wildly busy.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I just worry
Yeah.
that like that operator down on the bottom left is gonna turn out to be a block.
Yeah. I think we're kind of 50-50 on that. Let's do it one more time. Up or down? Okay, we went down. Sorry. He did submit one without the little guy on the bottom, but early. But we got it. So, and then all right, let's go back. Then we'll vote. I think that's our fallback if we don't like any of them. Number 1 was up. How do we feel about it? Let's clap. So the clap-o-meter's pretty high on that one. Don't take anything else out of that, what I just said. Pretty high. So number 1's good. Clap-o-meter probably there. Number 2 is down. Number 4, with the wireless microphone, clap-o-meter, please. Nah. Okay, sorry, Andy. 7, no. Was it, which one was it? 7 with the CW? Okay. Clap-o-meter. So, medium, okay. Medium. What came after 7? 9? Clap-o-meter. Okay. I think number 1's still ahead. And number 10, we had down that one. Okay. Number 1 it is. Everybody agree with that? Everybody like that one? Good job, Lisa. That was her submission without her beautiful husband on it. So, thank y'all all for submitting a design. It can only be one. Dave will get together with the printer, come up with an appropriate color. It's not going to be black. Question in the back? Lisa did. Lisa Barnes. Yeah. Yeah. So, good job. Good job. I'm thinking maybe a tan color. I don't know. I'm not good on colors. So, any suggestions out there? John? Yellow? Something light to counteract the darkness, yeah? Yeah. Tan with black lettering? Lewis? Yeah? Whoops, let me go back. Like that? So, okay. So, a lighter color, so yellow, tan, red, something like that. We'll get with the printer. Watch Discord, watch your emails. We'll start taking orders. We've got a short period of turnaround time on this. That's my fault for taking a while to get it to you. But then we'll start taking orders, and y'all let me know, and then we'll get them in and get them printed up, and hopefully get them to you before field day. Hopefully by the next meeting, but that may be too quick. All right. Yes, sir. Well, that's a good question. Thanks for saying that. Now, that could be, that's an option I thought of. We could put, it depends on the printer now. We could put that on the back and possibly put our club logo on the front in a small deal. Dave, I'm just wearing Dave out tonight. I'm wearing Dave out tonight, but yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't hurt to ask. We'll try, and if not, probably the front. So, all right. Yes, sir. Sure. You got a design ready to go? I'm going to make this one a lot hotter for next year. So. All right, there's the voting. And we got the winner, number one. June meeting. Be all about field day. We'll go all over the rules and things like that. Dave, I'm going to check that for you here in a second. But don't forget, June 7th, before the next June meeting, will be our simulation at Irwin Park. I'll put some reminders out there. Bring in HT. It's always a good one to get out there, kind of go over, you know, the how you call CQ, what you say, and all that stuff, and then respond to that, and we'll get that done. But looking forward to it. Any questions on field day? All right. Thank you all very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so Saturday, April 26th, we had the 2025 Heart of Melissa Spring Fest. And Jerry and Lance and several others helped get everything set up for several hours downtown and do a presentation. We had a number of folks that were interested and picked up information about the club and ham radio. Lance or Jerry, would you like to say something about? Come on up, Lance. Can't imagine you talking much.
Never. We had a good time out there. I think it was really fun. Dave was out there. John, who else was out there? Jerry came by. Robert was out there. There were probably 4 that were really interested in getting their license and moving forward with it. There were a couple of people that came in from the Berry Farms GRMS Club that were talking to us and saying they're interested in getting their license moving forward. So it was a lot of good opportunities to meet up with a lot of people, hand out the information, and get a lot of questions answered. I was at the Fall Festival for another group, and this festival was attended by maybe half. So it was a lot lower public that was out there. So they have another Fall Festival coming up. I would promote that we should do it again to be out there and hopefully have better attendance overall just with the festival in general and get some more information out there. But it's a lot of fun, so be sure to come out next time.
Thank you, Lance. And we had Felicia the Fox out for several items during April. I know she's also been out several times during May. We've had quite a few people find it. So congratulations to all of our fox hunters that successfully found Felicia. We've got quite a few. And we did some fox hunting while we were doing the potluck POTA. So I think that was this whole group that kind of went out, and they had, apparently she was pretty well hidden there. So they did a group find. And the potluck POTA was awesome. Robert did a wonderful job with some smoked pork loin, and we had, a large number of operators that were out and a number of different radios on. We did learn that we want to perhaps separate a digital station from some of our SSB stations so that we can minimize interference. But we had lots and lots of contacts. Several people made their first contacts while they were there. I know it was my first POTA activation. Chris made her first HF contact. Thanks very much to Bran, who started to pile up and then passed that off to Chris and and we passed it off to somebody else when we were done because it just kept growing. Yeah, we had really good turnout. We had excellent turnout. There was quite a few people there over the several hours. We were there for a couple of hours. Larry was operating CW, and okay. Mark, funny business, okay? Wonder if the SWR is a little high. In that case, it just might be. 100%. All right. Welcome back, and this evening for our presentation, we have Mr. Steve Ullman going to tell us all about YCAT and how we can control our Yaesu radios. Steve?
So can you hear me? Anybody hear me? Okay, there we go. Hey, Lance. So my name is Steve. I know most of you, but not all of you. But I dabble a little bit with hardware. Is that better? Yeah, better. Roger. Okay. So I guess I wrote this program called YCAT for controlling my Yaesu radio. And for me, it started as a learning experience for my FT891 when I first bought that during COVID. And I write software, and I noticed it had a serial interface. So that kind of made, well, if you have ever used the FT891, the menuing is pretty limited on that. But there's an awful lot of radio inside that little rig. So you use it to control and monitor your radio over the enhanced USB serial port. Use it to control most of the operational features of the radio. It can't do everything like the menus, the back menus. That's a little too difficult to incorporate all of that for different kinds of radios. I like the idea of programmable user-defined buttons, so I was dabbling with that a little bit. One of the drawbacks for all of the rigs that Yaesu has is you can't look at all the meters at the same time. You choose SWR, power out, etc. And I just wanted to see all the meters at once, and so added that. Programming VFO memories, it's like, what do you need memories in an HF rig for? But now that I do it, I actually rely on it quite a bit. I have a logbook in there. I didn't really want to put it in there, but it turns out I'm getting old. I can't access all these different pieces of software, so I ended up putting it in there anyways. And then mapping is what I really like to do. You know, I do vehicle tracking systems historically the last 20 years, so putting a map in there was easy, and this is simpler, much simpler. So again, I bought this 891 early COVID, and I started adding radios over time. Yeah, the first thing I did was turn the radio on and off, and I was really tickled when I could do that from my computer. So that kind of encouraged me to keep going. And as it started going, it turned, I could see an application coming out of it, and so I tried to organize it. I added the 991, the DX10, 710, DX3000, really wanting to get a hold of that FTX1F, but it's just not out yet. So, and again, I did add the QSO logger. There's like the POTA feature. We can get into that, but you know, when I do my logs at the end of a park, I just hit export to ADIF, and if I've set it up for POTA, it automatically names the file exactly like POTA is looking for. So you just grab it, drop it right on the POTA site, click the 2 check boxes, hit submit, and you're done. You're 30 seconds, and you're already activated in the park. So the mapping feature, there's a lot there. we can follow up on that later, but I like the 6-digit grid squares, and I want to know where, where I am, and with a GPS interface, that really helps out where I'm at, and then with call sign lookup, you know where the other guy's at, or if you're doing POTA spots, you can actually find where the other park is compared to where you are. So I thought that was a big deal, but I don't use it that much anymore. But so what is YCAT? It's a rig control program, customizable buttons, all meters display. I have serial interfaces for your YCAT radio, GPS, software-defined radio, and WJTX. So, see, I have a GPS interface as well. If you have a GPS dongle, you can synchronize your PC time. You can also compute your 6-digit grid. So the SDR interface, that works with an RSP-DX or an RSP-1A. To me, that was really awesome for the FT891 because its waterfall is really not that great. And I thought, wow, when I saw this, it's like, why would you not use an SDR with your rig? But then I saw the 710 and the DX10, and they're not as good as SDR Uno, but they're pretty awesome. So I think it's an important feature if you want a waterfall and you don't have that, like the 891. VFO memory read and write and file read and save. So you can read all of the program memories in your radio, and then you can edit it, write it back to the radio, save it to a file. And I've done this because I have multiple radios. I'll read from the file, and I'll go out to the other radios and reprogram them so they're all the same frequencies. So I have HamDB and QRZ call sign lookout. HamDB is free. You don't have to have a subscription, but it's not very good. It only works for US hams. It doesn't work for your DX calls. So QRZ is the best call sign lookup that I found so far, but you just need a subscription, and you just log in with your username and password. Voice memory, record, verify, and send. I really like this, especially if you're hunting. I like to have my call sign, just push a button, and my voice goes out over the air. Although this week I was playing with that, and I said, oh yeah, I heard this guy doing activating a park, and I just pushed, the KC5 button on my program, and he came back to me, and I looked at him, I didn't even have a microphone hooked up to the radio. So I had to run around looking for a microphone, plug it in, and then eventually got the contact. So the CW control memory, I'm not big on CW. I forgot more than I learned, I think, but I did play with it. I've actually used it, made one hunter contact over CW using this and trying to hand enter responses. It might be helpful, someone with CW experience, they can leverage some of that memory. So the microphone equalizer settings, those are pretty important. You have the logger that we talked about, POTA spot viewing, I like that. It goes to the POTA website, it skims all of the spots, and then you can filter it for CW or, single sideband, whatever. So I like that. And then the mapping, sometimes I don't have the GPS, and I can move the mouse in the map and find my 6-digit grid without the GPS, and I can put that in there. Sometimes I forget to update, WSJTX, but working on solving that problem. Spectrum scope management, if you have one of the 710s or the DX10s and you use an external display, you can use that screen to control the level bandwidth, centering, cursor, things like that. And right now it's a Windows 32 application. I can release it as a 64-bit. It's just real easy, but everything runs 32 right now, but won't always be that way. So this is the main screen of YCAT. You see the power button on the left, and then in this case, the top screen, I'm on a memory channel, and it's BuckeyeNet. Somebody recommended I visit that, so I saved it in there. And you see on the grid square over there, it shows me as EM130Q. That's up in Sherman. I control the VFO on the right-hand side. The left side is like audio, working my way to RF, and then I get to the VFO at the very end. So the default tab, when you first power it up, will be Operation Info. That's where you enter your information, your call sign, operator call. The rig will auto-populate just by the RFID, radio ID when we query it, when we connect to it. The antenna, if you want it there, you have to enter that yourself. I haven't figured out how to query an antenna yet. So the grid is populated by the GPS, but if you don't have one, you can enter it right here. And then, of course, the state and county. Over here at activating POTA, if you check that, you have to, right now, hand enter the part number. And if you want to, sometimes when you're talking, you forget where you're at. You've activated too many parks. You don't know which one you're at. And you can put that park name in there, and then when you go to the logging page, it will be there to kind of prompt you. And then if you're doing FT8 and you're looking for CQ POTA or anything, you can put a search term in there, enable search, and the computer will beep when it comes across, when it's received on WSJTX. And this is the serial communications. I put that big thing on the bottom to remind everybody that you connect over the enhanced serial port. There are two of them, a standard and enhanced, but communication is only done on the enhanced port. And then you'll see the YCAT port for the rig. External CAT port is what I use for WSJTX. I need a virtual serial cable in order to connect the two. And then and there's an SDR CAT port as well. And you see over here the GPS sync port. You have your serial and baud rate. It doesn't really matter because on USB, those things will translate to almost any baud rate. But the sync interval is, if I want to sync my PC to GPS time, I would click that. The caveat is that Windows won't let the application write to the clock unless it's running in admin mode. So I don't usually run that in admin mode unless my clock on my PC, I know people say it isn't supposed to do it, but 2 seconds a night, it is not unusual, and it's a brand new laptop. So there's a WSJTX UDP. Now, what that's for is if you set WSJTX to broadcast data like a QSO. QSO. Anyways, you would set that up right here, and so it will listen for the broadcast from WSJTX. And so then you can, when that happens, when you hit the log QSO, it will actually enter it into your logbook. And then the other is just debug. I use it. I don't think anybody else would, but it's if I want to look at what's happening with the radio, I turn on one of those check boxes for whatever I'm trying to debug. So on the main screen, you'll see on the bottom there, you have your 3 timestamps. If you have a GPS, it will show the GPS time down there. UTC is coming from the PC, and then local time is derived from the UTC time in the PC. So you see I'm 219 milliseconds off, so it's not bad. So the power button, you just click that, it's an indicator, and when you start YCAT, it will automatically turn your radio on if the ports that were saved from last time and the radio is still plugged in. So that's one way of knowing when you power it up, you'll hear the radio click on. It's kind of a comforting sound. You have your Vox, tuner enable, and tune. If you hit tune, tuner enable comes on automatically. And then you can hit TX on if you want for those people that want to tune, I guess. You can switch to AM or CW mode, just turn on TX on and you can see the SWR or whatever. And that's what that's for. So again, here's the main screen, the part about the VFO. So you've got your memory channel and the VFO A slot. And I mimicked these from the 710 display, the FT 710. I just kind of thought it looked better than all of the others that Yaesu offered so far. And this is kind of new because what's out there right now is the old style where they're not colored and they're not functional. Like if I click that USB on M05, then it'll bring up a menu and you can pick whatever you want, AM, and that's identical, I think, to the 710. I think that's where I got that from. So you can lock the front screen of your radio by hitting the lock button. You can do an auto down or auto up, which is if you hold the button down for as long as you hold it down, you'll either go up in frequency or down in frequency. You've got the fast, slow. On the left, you have the step down and step up. That just does, every time you click it, it only goes up one increment. So, and then split's been one of those confusing features. You're running FT8 and it's in split mode, then you come out of FT8 and split's still on and you go to tune the rig and nothing happens. It's on the wrong band usually, so. Did I go backward? Okay, sorry about that. And then the S meter there, that just shows your S meter reading. And you can see the peak indicator there. It's coming down from whatever. At this point, it's about a 2, but the S meter is really showing like a 0. So I just kind of like that when the S meter is going up and down, I like to know what the highest point was. And so I have that peak feature in there. And so this is the old style of changing your mode. The software I'm showing you hasn't been released yet. It'll be out probably in the next week or so. And but you would change your modes pretty much like this. If it was an FT991, it would have C4 FM at the end. But today, or on the new software, if you click where it says Data U, you bring down this menu over on the bottom right, and it has all of your options there, and you click that, and then it automatically switches it. And it has the same color coding as the 710. Now you have 5 user-definable buttons. Everybody has certain features that they wish the software would have that doesn't have it. Well, this is where you can make some tweaks to it. So I like 10 and 20 watts for running FT8, and then I want 100 watts for single sideband. But I also have like day use and night use. I don't know why, because I usually never look at my radios anymore because I'm always using the program. But in the FT891 in the truck, if I'm driving at night, I want it in night mode, and I don't want all the screens blaring at me and everything, so I can just hit a button, goes into night mode, and then when I'm driving during the day, I can just hit the day mode, and it flips to where it's bright enough for me to see. Well, I don't have to. Okay, I'm activating a park at night. Oh, did I mention I don't use those buttons anymore? So, so there's also voice memory, and this is the one that got me in trouble. you record them, and the program will prompt you how to program for your different radio type. And then you can label the buttons so you remember what them buttons are for. So you just press the button and it does its thing. And the radio, people wanted it to automatically default to send, so you don't have to push the button, hear it, but it doesn't key up the radio. So they want it to key up as soon as it presses, so that's the default setting for it. And yeah, don't press it unless you have a microphone. So the band selection, you can do band up, band down, or select band. And when you hit select band, a little menu pops up, and then you can choose, what band that you want or back out. And then there's that grid square we talked about. It automatically populates when the GPS gets a fix. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes when you first plug it in. It'll sync the radio clock automatically. I don't know why I do that, but I just do it because nobody can read the clock inside their radios unless you're using the SD card, and you can see the timestamps there. But I do it, the radio will take it, but I can't do the PC unless it runs in admin mode. So here again is just kind of that earlier slide, but up close. You've got your audio section, so you have AF gain, that's how loud the speaker is, and then data out is how much is driving to FT8 to WSJTX, and then PRC level mic gain. And you can turn on the PRC and the MEQ right from here. You don't have to go to another screen. You have the squelch level, which it's not real valuable, I think, in an HF rig. But you need it if you're trying to scan memory channels or you're trying to scan a band. You have to set that up high enough to where the squelch isn't set, so you can't have your amplifier set. But and that's a feature, I guess, of Yaesu. But in FM, that squelch level is very valuable. And then you've got DNR. And bandwidth controls, and those are two that I use a lot. There's a notch filter and a contour filter. If you press those buttons, they bring up a slide bar that you can, or other buttons to increase or decrease the frequency for those filters. And IF shift, I didn't think I'd ever use it. I'm starting to use it a lot now. When you get adjacent interference, you can change the bandwidth, you can slide your IF chain up or down, usually up, but and then RF gain, RF power, the attenuator. Each rig type has different sets of attenuators. The 891 has just one, 710 has, I think, 3, and the DX10 has 4 or something like that, but it'll step through every one of those. And then the monitor, turning it on and off. And then the VFO, that's pretty busy, but you can flip between VFO and memory. Increase and decrease the VFO or the memory channels. You can swap A to B, B to A, memory to B, swap. I threw the CW0 in here because if you're listening to CW and you're on this screen, it'd just be nice. I like pushing that button, and the CW just comes right into the frequency that you set for the VFO. So you don't have to go in there and try to tweak it. You have scan off, scan on, which will move the VFO up and down. Group on and off. I didn't know what value that was, but say I've programmed some of my memories for WWV. So I've got 2.5, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 megahertz, and I put them in say, memory locations 51, 2, 53, 54. If I go to a WWV channel, I can put group on, and then it will only stay in a 20-channel sequence. So it'll only go through my WWV channels. So I kind of like that, or I have a couple of nets that I want to scan on the VHF if it's a 991. So, and then QMB save and recall. And then if you just want to go to a specific frequency, you've got that set frequency button there. This here is the preset tab. You got the timeout timer, which turns out is pretty important on FT8 if your transceiver PC locks up or WJTX locks up and you're transmitting, it will stay transmitting until you turn it off unless the timeout timer is set. So I set that to 3 minutes, which is like a whisper, you know, a 2-minute whisper. 3 minutes is plenty, so it'll automatically, the radio will actually do it for you if you set it. So you got your user controls here, and you can decide whether you want the button to show or not show. By the checkbox there, you can define the caption that you want, and then the CAT commands there. And you can concatenate the CAT commands. So if you want more than one command to happen during a button press, you can just put them all right there. So, and then the display settings, the controls that are required for your radio will show up here, and as you change them, it will change the intensity and the contrast, et cetera, of the radio, and you get what you want. That little dialog, or that little edit box right up above there is the actual CAT command to do that, and that's what I copy and paste into user 4 and user 5 for my day and night. So you can choose your tuner, whether it's internal tuner, external tuner, et cetera. You do that right there under tuner settings. Right below that is the visual theme. So if you don't like this color, you can go through that box and scroll through about 20, 25 different visual themes. You can get dark themes, Windows themes, green, blue, purple, black, whatever works for you. Some people are from A&M, so I got as close to A&M as I could. The map APIs, those are mine. You can write them down, but there's really about another 80 characters past that. So I was trying to decide whether I wanted to make them so you can't see what they are, but then you can't double-click, copy, and paste to another PC. So I opted to keep them there for me, but I can't loan you my laptop. So here's the all meters display. The 891 won't show your voltage. You get to see it when you first power it up, and then that's it. So all the other radios, you can actually query it, and you can actually turn your power supply up and down and watch this. And then I've even used it on a power cable where my voltage dropped when I was transmitting, and it dropped, I thought, too much. And then when I shortened the cable right straight to the battery, I don't get that voltage drop. So I could see that the default cable from Yaesu is not necessarily the greatest. It's too long. You got your SWR here, ALC, power meter, drain current, and compression meters. And then you can turn on peak detect if that's what you want. Now, programming memory, you can program them with tags. That's what Yaesu calls text captions. And here you can see you can fetch from the radio, load from a file, save to a file, write all to the radio. That takes a little bit of time there. It'll go through all 100 slots. And but you can select, you know, whether it's a plus or minus shift, the frequency, you know, the mode, CTCSS, repeater offset, user tag, that's where you type your captions. And here's where you do the voice memory, same thing. You can do a record, verify, and send. It's right now in send mode, so if I push any of these 5 buttons or the 5 buttons on the main screen, it will send whatever message is recorded there. And again, between rigs, it turns out they're not all the same, the one on the car and the one on the desk. But having that caption there really helps remember or remind yourself. And then here's the CW memory. I don't spend a lot of time here, but I've played with it. It works. You got your monitor level, key pitch, keyer speed, APF, the actual keyer memory that you want, et cetera. So Here's a mic equalizer settings. So if POC is disabled, you'll get the equalizer settings on the left. If you enable PRC, then the parameters in the middle there will be applied to your audio. So I also added transmit bandwidth. So you actually, in some rigs, you can change the data only. So POTUS spots tab. If you go to the POTUS spots tab and you click display spots, it'll pop up, and then there's a mode up here. If you click on that filter button, you can hit SSB, and then everything will come down here as single sideband. And then you can scroll through that, and as you're scrolling, the rig is changing frequency and changing mode, keeping up with whatever's on the POTUS spots page, which I like using this at home for hunting, but I also like when I go out and activate, I'll sit down first and I'll buzz through this list. Anybody I can hear, I'll try to get a park to park, and then I'll flip over to just doing my activation separate from this. So, and then here it's showing that if you click on a row, and this is a feature that Lance asked for, was over here you see the W1EKU. You're there, if you hit tab, it goes to sent, and if you hit tab again, it goes to received. But again, if you just hit enter, it just auto-logs that contact right there with all the information that you have. And so I really like that. Also, well, here's where it shows you to put your POTA section when you're activating. So let's see. So you want to switch, after you set that, I guess what I'm trying to say is you set this first. If you're going to activate, you go to the logbook. And then I like to set up the call sign lookup. And one thing that impresses me, and I really, it must be somebody really good, because I'll give my call sign to an activator, and he comes back and, hey, Steve. and I'm like, well, I don't think I could have typed that fast enough. And I don't know how they do it, but anyways, with this, if you put their call sign in there and you just tab out of that field, it does the call sign lookup for you. If you're using QRZ, you'll get his name and everything. So, so I like that. And then sometimes when I'm doing FT8, somebody hits me and they don't give me their grid square. Well, it kind of gripes me, but I can compensate for that by grabbing their call sign out of WSJTX, storing it in here. I get their grid square, and I copy that and put it back. So here's logging into QRZ. There's a little login page there. You put your username and password, and then it activates it. So here's a case of some guy I was trying to get a hold of, KM6LMP. I'm not sure who that guy is. But anyways, it shows his grid square to his post office box, because I computed it by the address that was there. And so it says EM13SH, and so that pops down, and I simulated a call with this guy, even though I didn't really talk to him. But it auto-populated when you hit auto-log. And it shows my transmit power was 20 watts, et cetera, frequency. Then the maps display. The default map is open layers, and open layers is free. A lot of the maps, like this call to Japan that I did this morning, even though the map tells me that it's 315 degrees or 319 degrees, it plots it to the right, and that annoys me, but Bing doesn't do that, so I use Bing. Oh, let's see, I think up there, there's a map service, and you can choose which one you want. So if you have API keys for those vendors, then you can get and use their maps. So, and then the spectrum scope. And here you can control everything on one screen instead of bouncing around. So that's kind of new. I use a DVI-D to USB video capture external box, and I can pick up that display and put it on my monitor without having to turn around and look at the display. So, and here's an example of preferred message storage. There's a section of memories in the ASU devices that gives you a low and an upper, so you get a lower and an upper frequency, and you can program them. Because I tend to sometimes wander off. I'm an advanced, but I'm not an extra, and sometimes I wander into territories I don't belong. And so this one in particular, I get hooked on this, and I can't figure out why. I can't tune this guy in. All of a sudden, the radio won't tune any lower, and then I realize, oh, it'll go up, but it won't go below 175, and that's to remind me that's not my privilege area, and I don't know what they're talking about, but I don't need to get hooked and get participating with them. So anyways, it's hard sometimes when you want to show, how a radio or the software works, and you just can't, on demand, get certain situations to show up, and I just happened to catch that one. And so for FT8, this is where I use a virtual serial cable. There are a lot of them out there, COM0, there's a ham out there that gives it to other ham operators for free. So I think it's VSP Manager or something like that. So you pick up one of those, and then you create a virtual cable that will connect WSJTX to YCAT. And so when you do that, you can control the radio while WSJTX is running. So if you want to change your power level, you just go up and click, the power change. Or, you notice that the radio just shot up at 500 hertz bandwidth and it needs to be at 3,000. You can make that change without going through a couple of menus and stuff. So in this case, you see a QSO there. When I hit OK, that will get logged in the logbook. And that's pretty much it. You guys have any questions? I have been known to answer European calls in the middle of the night.
I have one on your GPS.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that?
The GPS?
Is that a separate?
It's a little dongle thing. Yeah. Yeah, and I have a dongle everywhere, but in the truck I have a USB to a magnetic GPS I put on the roof. So.
And you take your computer and your radio with you when you code up so you can use these strings?
Yes. See what? Cranes?
Sorry?
Did you say see cranes?
No, I said, do you take your laptop and your radio when you go code up
Yes.
so you can use your screens?
Oh, yeah, yes. So, so I have an HF radio in my truck, it's an FT891, and it's always there, and it doesn't need the laptop, but when I bring the laptop, then I can do things. And sometimes I've been out to parks where I'll bring an extra display, and then I'll move things around. The map is detachable. You can pull it away from the app and put it somewhere else. Let's see, the POTA spots you can put anywhere. The meters you can move off and put it somewhere. So if you have a wider screen or multiple screens, you can move some of the things around so you get a little bit of everything. Yep.
On an 891, what cable do you need to go from your laptop to the radio?
Just a USB cable.
Does it go to the USB
Yep.
B in the back of the radio?
Yep. No, the one in the car, the first FT891 I have that's on the bench, I got one of the signal links, and they're a bit pricey. I want to say it was in that 200 plus range, as I recall. And then I found out that I can go to Amazon, and I bought a little $10 USB audio card, and then I just needed a cable that does in and out, basically, to a DIN plug. And once I had that, I don't know the difference between one and the other now.
I noticed it's called YCAT. Is that Yaesu cat control?
Yeah.
And do you have any plans on doing other models outside of Yaesu?
Okay, so yes, and the problem is that I have to pay for these radios. So for the most part, I mean, I borrowed his once, but it was a Yaesu. So I focused on the Yaesu line, but wanted to get into ICOM next, and so I found out that the Zigu G90 is a CIV kind of clone. So I bought one of those. It's inexpensive, and I actually can control it, but it's not as feature-rich as the Yaesu radio. But it's the inroads into, yes, I think I can do ICOMs next. So, okay. Any other questions?
What's the oldest Yaesu model that you can run it on?
You can run it. It'll recognize almost any Yaesu you plug into it, but it may not operate correctly. But it'll work the 891, the 991, the 991A, the 3000, I believe a 1200, and a DX10. So, and 710. Yeah. Thanks. She's the other half of tech support on that 24/7. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that. Very informative. And that'll wrap up tonight's meeting. I need a motion to adjourn. KB4 ROI, Roy, thank you. And the second? Carrie? All in favor? Aye.
You did good. Steve?
Great presentation.
What's that? Omnidirectional, which isn't gonna work here. That's why that thing is so directional, because anything else is gonna be completely, yeah.